Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of Drishti IAS Economy series for Prelims 2021. The first important topic of this episode, hydrogen economy. Why it was in news? Because a hydrogen round table was organized recently. First thing, who organized it? So, Energy Forum and Federation of Indian Petroleum Industry. These two bodies are not that important. What is important is the first thing which comes to mind after listening hydrogen economy is that it must be a kind of project under Ministry of Renewable Energy kind of thing, but no, it is under Ministry of Petroleum and Energy Gas, and these two bodies were responsible for organizing hydrogen round table. The then Petroleum Minister, Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan, he is here in the photograph. The present Petroleum Minister, of course, is Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri. So now the theme of this hydrogen round table was mapping of supply and demand of hydrogen and related policy roadmap. So this was organized under National Hydrogen Mission. What is National Hydrogen Mission? So it aims at promoting the use of clean energy by generating electricity from green energy sources. Hydrogen is one of the most important potential green energy sources. And what it aims at, this hydrogen mission, it aims at reducing the dependence on fossil fuels. Why? One, it is a reason for the climate change causing greenhouse gases. Two, the fossil fuels also contribute hugely to the India's import bill. So the target, India has set a target of 170 gigawatt till 2022 to be generated from renewable energy sources. It has been updated till 2030. We are aiming for 450 gigawatts of renewable energy. Now, green hydrogen, it can be mixed with natural gas, which is predominantly methane. So, this green hydrogen can be mixed with natural gas up to 20%. Now, hydrogen is a long-term source of energy. We know it can be made by causing electrolysis in water, which releases hydrogen as well as oxygen, and it is a clean energy source. And when it is used as a source of energy, when it is oxidized, basically it releases only water. So no polluting gases, they are emitted when hydrogen is used as a source of energy. So this is the reason why it has been in news. Moving on further, the next news item, Handloom Promotion Assistance Scheme. Why this scheme was in news? So this scheme was started in 2016 and it is applicable to all weavers. Under this scheme, Government of India bears 90% of the cost of expenditure on loom for weavings and different kinds of material assistance that can be provided to the weavers community or the organizations that are involved in weaving industry. The nodal ministry is Ministry of Textiles. So that is important piece of information. Now the objective is to provide them with looms and other materials that are attached to it. What it aims at? To improve the productivity, because if certain better material or better machinery is provided to weaving industry, the quality as well as the quantity will increase, and when it will increase, the income of weavers will also see a rise. Now, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, OBCs and women, they are also included in this scheme. This scheme was introduced in 1516 and it was introduced under National Handloom Development Program (NHDP) and Comprehensive Handloom Cluster Development Scheme. Basically, you have to remember that this scheme is under Ministry of Textiles when it was introduced and what it aims at. Moving on further, 𝐸 scheme was in news. This government has launched several programs which have very interesting acronyms. Remember, at times they are also confusing. 𝐸 scheme was a program by National Book Trust for emerging writers. 𝐸, on the other hand, stands for Empowering Youth for Undertaking Value-Added Innovative Translational Research. It is a scheme of Virak. 𝐸 was a scheme under NBT. This is under Virak. Virak stands for Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. What this scheme aims at? This aims at promoting a culture of applied research and need-oriented entrepreneurial innovation among young students and researchers. So, apart from the ministry or the body which is implementing a scheme, the second important thing to be remembered with each scheme is the group of beneficiaries that are to be targeted. So, young students and researchers. So, funding support will be provided in the form of fellowships and research grants at various levels like undergraduate level, postgraduate level, and even postdoc level. And apart from that, so this is not only focused at the academic rigor and the academic research, but translating that academic research into technical and business enterprise. And therefore, the focus will also be on building up entrepreneurial culture. Now, this scheme provides assistance to students under two categories. One is for post-graduation and above students. So, it is called Virak's Innovative Fellows, and for undergraduate students, it is called Virak's 𝐒 Fellows. So, these are the two intended group of beneficiaries. That is all for Virak's scheme. Now, that is all for Virak's 𝐒 scheme. Now, the next important news, unique land parcel identification number or unique land PIN. So, UL PIN, it aims at issuing a 14-digit identification number to every plot of land in the country. We know Aadhaar is a 12-digit code which is provided to every individual in the country. It aims at providing a 12-digit identification number to every individual. This will be a 14-digit identification number to every land plot, and gradually, subsequently, it will be integrated with the revenue court records and bank records. We'll see why this is important. And later on, it is also open to be associated with Aadhaar number on a voluntary basis, because of especially after the Puttaswamy judgment, it has been made clear that such associations with Aadhaar need to be voluntary. Moving on further, this scheme has begun in 10 states this year, and across the country it is planned to be over by March 2022. Under this scheme, identification of each land will be possible with a unique land PIN. Now, the aim is to prevent basically fraud cases. This is the first important aim, because most of the fraud cases in real estate are possible or are made possible by the lack of clear information about the ownership of land. And this provides a very unique and very precise information, because latitude as well as longitudinal information is provided about each land parcel which is given this unique land PIN. And this unique land PIN is basically the next phase of DILRMP, that is Digital India Land Records Modernization Program. This was itself started way back in 2008, and the deadline is approaching in 2023-24. And this was what was I referring to. One aim is to prevent bank frauds. But once the land records have been linked with banks, it is being said that it is going to cause a kind of revolution in the land market, because certain kind of lands which still lack proper records, they will be in the formal economy, and once they are linked with banks, people can monetize those ownership records and can use it for different kinds of purposes, including entrepreneurial purposes. Moving on further, SIPRI report was in news. What is SIPRI, where it is located, what it does, we will come to it later. What this report said was that US is the world's largest arms exporter between the period 2016 to 2020, and it is followed by Russia, France, Germany and China. So, first question is, which is the largest exporter across the globe, largest arms exporter across the globe? It is US, followed by Russia, France, Germany and China. Which is the largest importer is the another important question. Not a very good thing to, not a very good list to be a part of, but Saudi Arabia is the forerunner in this list, followed unfortunately at the second place by India. Though India is targeting to reduce its reliance on imports, but at the current juncture in its history, it needs to rely on those imports, and that is why India is at the second rank among the importers of arms. Arms imports have decreased basically by 33% in this phase, but the reason has actually been long procurement process, which is often also controversial. India's import from Russia has also declined by 53% between 2016 to 2020. An interesting thing is that between 2011 and 15, US was the second largest exporter of arms to India, although after that period we have seen that on international forum these countries, our country and the US, has often come together more closely, but US has come down to this fourth place in this period of 2016 to 2020. So that is another interesting observation which this report makes. So now top 4 arms exporting countries to India, they are Russia. Even after 53% reduction in this period, it is still is at the forefront. Russia provides the maximum amount of arms to India, followed by France, Rafale Alert, followed by Israel, and followed by USA. SIPRI stands for Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, an ironical mention of peace, because why it is often in news is when it gives reports about arms, nuclear weapons, and similar stuff. It is basically an institute located at Stockholm in Sweden, founded in 1966. It provides data analysis and recommendations for arms exports and imports regime, military expenditures of countries, armed trades, disarmaments, and arm control. Moving on further, Aatman Niveshak Mitra portal. It was in news. This portal aims at emphasizing on digital platforms to promote domestic investors. So it is focusing on enabling ease of access for domestic investors to be able to invest in India. Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, DPIIT, under Ministry of Commerce and Industry is the nodal agency here. The portal which has been made has been called Aatman Niveshak Mitra, and it will be helpful in providing convenience and information to domestic investors, and that is why it has been made available in several regional languages. Now it is being developed under Invest India. So the question arises, what is Invest India? Invest India is basically an agency, a not-for-profit venture established in 2009, again by DPIIT, and investment information of central and state governments will be made available on this portal. Access to all MSME portals. So you have to also remember that there was a champions portal which was in news to make champions out of several MSMEs working in the country. So access to all MSME portals like a champions portal, MSME Samadhan, MSME Sampark portal is possible from this one single window, that is Aatmanirbhar Niveshak Mitra portal, and hence investors will be able to get instant information, approvals, licenses and clearances via this portal. The next important news which was there is vehicle scrappage policy recently came out. It was announced in the budget of 21-22 and it has been announced that commercial vehicles will have a life of 15 years and they will need to be deregistered if after 15 years they do not pass a fitness test. For commercial vehicles, this time period is 15 years. For private vehicles, it is 20 years. And after this period, commercial vehicles as well as private vehicles, they will have to undergo a mandatory automated fitness test. And if this fitness test is not passed, they won't be allowed to ply on the roads. And if they ply, a hefty fine, a prohibitive fine will be imposed. Now, a fact is that around 17 lakhs or 1.7 million vehicles in India are more than 15 years old. So, this data gives us several benefits which can be associated with vehicle scrappage policy which has just come out. One thing, that such old vehicles, they usually emit more pollution A, because they have been used for a long time, B, because newer technologies, we know BS4 norms, BS6 norms, newer technologies ensure that less and less pollution is made by the vehicles plying on roads. So, this scrappage policy will hopefully lead to reduction in vehicular pollution. It will also help at the same time India meet its climate goals. India has committed to certain climate goals, and this policy will help in achieving those goals. There will be reduction in road accidents, because if the vehicles are not fit to ply on roads, there is an increased chance that they become a part of road accidents. Now, employment will also increase in the automobile sector. Why? One, because there will be a demand for newer vehicles if older vehicles are scrapped from the roads, and two, when those older vehicles are scrapped, there will be a new market for recycling those products, for taking out those parts of that vehicle which can still be used. Vehicle scrapping centers will be opened across the country. People will be able to sell their old vehicles here, and government will promote setting up, or is already promoting setting up, private partnership based automated fitness centers across the country. Moving on further, overseas direct investment was in news. First, this term is important. We'll come to it very soon. Now, RBI released data on overseas direct investment. It said that there was a 31% reduction in overseas direct investment between Feb 2021 in Feb 2021, and this reduction was hefty, $1.85 billion. And so basically $2.66 billion in investment in overseas entities and joint ventures were made in February 2020. So from that there has been a reduction, and most investments, they were made in form of loans. So what is this ODI? We are aware of FDI, foreign direct investment. There is overseas direct investment. So when a company invests in India, a foreign company invests in India, it is FDI, a very basic information I am giving you. There are other things associated with definition of FDI. But when an Indian company invests in a foreign subsidiary or entity, then it is called overseas direct investment. So there can be a term based question. What is ODI? When a company contributes capital or subscription to the memorandum of association in its overseas entity. For example, if Tata opens an overseas entity in any other country and makes an investment there, it will be termed as overseas direct investment. Now, portfolio investment is not included in ODI. Portfolio investment is kind of minority shareholding done by pension funds, but overseas direct investment is basically a kind of investment which is done in the ownership of that subsidiary. So, portfolio investment is not included in the ODI. That is another important fact to remember. A resident corporate entity or partnership firm, these are kinds of entities which have been described in the Indian Partnership Act 1932. So, resident corporate entity or the partnership firm which are registered under the Indian Partnership Act 1932, they can do overseas direct investment. Resident individuals are allowed only for portfolio investments or making investments in shares or via pension funds. ODI is not allowed in two sectors. One is real estate and second is banking sector. So these things are important for from exam perspective. Where it is not allowed, what is its definition, and which kinds of investments are not included under the definition of overseas direct investment as per the guidelines of RBI. Now, clearance mandatory under the Banking Regulation Act 1949 for this joint venture or wholly owned subsidiary abroad in which the overseas direct investment can be made. So, clearance is important or necessary for making ODI. Next important news was Ghar Tak Fiber Scheme. So, in recent past, there have been several schemes like BharatNet and other schemes which aimed at connecting the whole of the country, especially including all the villages with internet. So a similar scheme, Ghar Tak Fiber Scheme, was launched by Prime Minister on September 21 in 2020. This scheme started in Bihar as a pilot project, and it has been known with other names like Internet Facility through Optical Fiber in Every Village Scheme and Optical Fiber Village Connectivity Project. So these are all names for this pilot project, which is run as the Ghar Tak Fiber Scheme. Now, what is the implementing ministry? That is Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. That is an obvious choice too, if there are options provided. What is the aim? Again, to provide broadband connectivity through aerial optical fiber to every village of Bihar, because it is still, or till now at least, a pilot project in Bihar. So for now in Bihar, and to connect all villages with high speed internet. It has also been launched because other schemes like BharatNet, they have floundered due to various reasons. They are still running, but they are missing their deadlines. So this scheme has been launched since it is running in Bihar. So the project monitoring is being done by state of Bihar, and digital services like e-education, e-agriculture, telemedicine, tele-law, other social security schemes can be run via or under this initiative. Now, additional info, we should know another term, dark fiber, is also often in news. Since these optical fibers are being laid to provide the connectivity to the villages, dark fiber is basically the unused optical fiber that has been laid but is not currently being used in the fiber optic communications. So why the companies have laid it? Why? Because in order to avoid cost repetition when more bandwidth is needed or required in future. So it's a future proof idea. It's a future proof initiative being undertaken by the companies which are laying the optical fiber. So this term can be directly asked that what is dark fiber, which is often in use. You should know it is the unused optical fiber laid by companies. It is also known as unlit fiber. So these are the two terms which mean the same thing. With dark fiber, we come to the conclusion of this episode. We'll be coming with 7 episodes in total, and we'll be ending this series very soon, well before prelims. We wish you all the best for your upcoming prelims exam.